Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm back. Let's get into the video. All right, so I was woken up in the morning by my mom. I got some water. I want to start the oven for the pie, but sadly, I woke up at around 9:30 a.m. and my mom needed to leave for work, so there was no time to heat up the Dutch apple pie and have that with ice cream and watch that new M. Lemon video that recently released about the assassination of James A. Garfield. So we're gonna have to postpone that for tomorrow, it would have seemed. Instead, I needed to drive my car out from behind my mom because I was parked behind her so she could go. I said goodbye and that I love her. And she said, love you too. And then she left, and I drove back up um, on the driveway, got out, and I decided to get half of the mini cherry pie and half of a mini apple pie. Got 3 scoops of ice cream and made some grounded coffee, the cranberry brulee coffee, pre-grounded, Jack Skellington themed. I had that poured in a cup along with an espresso shot, and then I decided to go into the den, and I was watching the Digital Foundry overview of the Halo campaign Evolved game that recently released. The first Halo game to ever release on a PlayStation platform, which honestly feels really surreal because ever since I was, a kid and, I grew up with PlayStation, Nintendo, I always remember ooh, Halo was the big franchise, like the real winner of the Xbox catalog. I never got around to playing it though because I never owned an Xbox or a PC powerful enough to play any Halo games. Technically, I do have a PC that could play the Halo Master Chief Collection if I really wanted to, but this latest release of the new Halo campaign Evolved, available for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, looks really good. It has strong art direction, great lighting, excellent sound design, and it just overall looks like a great introduction to the Halo franchise. Now, what I'm curious about is I know the new CEO of Xbox, Asha Sharma, has a lot on her plate to clean up for the Xbox brand, which has had a horrible run recently. It's starting to become unprofitable. So apparently there was a big announcement made that 2 games announced for E3 of 2026. Well, E3 doesn't exist anymore. It's just the Xbox showcase of 2026. But the summer's when all the big companies reveal their interesting titles they're working on. They used to do it under E3, but I guess it was too expensive to rent studio space and show their games out to huge audiences and investors. So yeah. But anywho, yeah, so there's like this one game, I think it's called like The Last Clockwinders or something. And then there is, of course, what was that one? The Gears of War D-Day, is what it's called, I think. Those will be Xbox Series console exclusives, which is kind of odd because there's been all this run up with the new Xbox console being worked on called Project Helix, where it's been advertised to be basically a open source platform that can have Steam run on it as well as the Microsoft Store. So making two titles console exclusives in a time where it seems like Microsoft's going to pivot to basically just being a pre-built, unupgradable PC. Just seems like an odd choice to me. Um, but yeah, maybe the new decision was done to state, hey guys, we hear you. Xbox has kind of lost its identity along the way. And in order to regain its identity and make it something that you guys would want to come back to, we're releasing all of the Xbox titles that would have come as multi-plats exclusively to the platform. And there you go. So, I mean, maybe that's what they're gearing up to do. Maybe this whole multi-plat, thing was a little experiment, and maybe they realized the numbers that Nintendo and Sony were pulling in, and they were like, well, we want that. How are we going to make our platform valuable? Oh, I know. We have to curate a ecosystem that puts quality gaming experiences above all else and a strong brand identity. That's what both Sony and Nintendo do, and they've been sitting on piles of cash while we've been steadily losing market share for the last 15 years. So, yeah, I mean, that's what's going on here. Honestly, what would get Microsoft to do a huge leapfrog over Sony is if they announce that they're retaining physical media and providing ways of allowing you to have digital rights ownership over the media you purchase, and you're not buying a license but the actual DRM free version of a game when you buy an Xbox console. If they do that, I think they could very easily wipe the floor with Sony, especially with their announcement of getting rid of physical discs. But honestly, this is a theory I actually thought about, and I even brought it up to two coworkers at my job, and I thought, wait a minute. Sony is working on a handheld device, right? If they're working on a handheld device, and clearly you can't fit a Blu-ray disc into the handheld device, and there have been rumors that the device is going to be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 and 5 titles, as well as scaled down PS6 games, then maybe the scaled down optimized versions of PS6 games that are being developed with this device in mind will have physical releases, but on cartridges. Maybe Sony's going the Nintendo Switch route, where they're going to have game cards instead of discs, and maybe they're going to go extra hardcore and release those game cards for their actual home console as well, which would solve the problem of digital ownership and would signal a new era for Sony. Although that's a really bizarre approach to go with, because Nintendo kind of already has that key card or game card market already cornered, and on top of that, like, you can't really fit that much information in a cartridge unless like you make it have a huge data file size. And the thing is, Switch cartridges that have 64 gigs of memory on them are very expensive to manufacture, much more so than a disc. So it just kind of, I mean, as interesting as it would sound for Sony to go the way of game cards for some reason, which is an interesting theory and might explain why they're ending disc production, I don't know, it just doesn't really make much sense to me still, because, like, I mean, it'd be more expensive to release their games on physical game cards than it would be to release them on discs. But maybe the cards, because they are more, you know, compact and would allow you to put your games in the rumored Sony handheld, and maybe even put them in the Sony console that's coming out, the PS6. That would be an interesting approach. Although personally, I feel like it's a huge loss for Sony if they don't put a disk drive in the new console, because A, what about the people who bought most of their games physically? Are they just gonna have to hang on to their PS5s and 5 Pros with disk drive attachments forever? Or are they going to, at the very least, like release like a USB dongle disk drive, like that you pop into your PS6 that you can put your PS5 and 4 games in and install on the device, like as a little, you know, oh, you know, what do you call that? Contemplation or a complimentary prize or a I'm not exactly sure what, you know what I mean. But anyways, yeah, I just think that's really interesting, going down on that path, because I just think the fact Sony's kind of ignoring people either says one of two things. One, they just think that the whole controversy is going to blow over and people will stop caring about owning their media, so that way they can continue, you know, uh, perpetually renting out licenses to games and making money off of unsuspecting gamers who don't know what they're really getting themselves into and will pay hand over fist for it. Or maybe they have a new form of physical media that they're working on that they can't talk about right now. And that's why they're remaining silent, because it would spoil what they've been working on, what they would ultimately reveal. I mean, on one hand, I could see it being possible, but on the other hand, I just, I don't know, just seems risky. Seems risky to release your, you know, games on what would ultimately be a more expensive physical format. I mean, kind of odd, very odd. Could you imagine like putting a little game card inside a giant PS6 with like insane thermals and stuff? Man, you'd have to really keep your eye on that thing so it wouldn't get lost. Or maybe it'd just be like a game key card where when you pop it in, it signals the console download the game from a server, much like how, like, you know, a lot of current discs do it, where they have like, you know, installation files on the disk and it simply just signals the console download the game from an online server. I don't know what's going on at all with what's happening there, but it's interesting nonetheless, I suppose. Wow, I went in a little rabbit hole there, didn't I? Anyways, yeah, the Halo Campaign Evolved remake looks very great. I actually am kind of tempted to get it eventually. Like, you know, maybe as a potential Christmas present or something. I think that'd be kind of cool. All right, well, after I was done watching that and eating the ice cream and the cake, or sorry, the ice cream and the pie and the coffee, I decided to watch this video that was recommended to me, which was essentially just a walkthrough of the San Diego Comic-Con, you know, location. And it was really cool to see that. I thought that, dang, this is I mean, it's a lot of really neat, like, things. They had animatronics, they had really detailed, like, figures, they had, like, these really, like, cool looking, like, toys and stuff. I mean, it's basically nerd paradise, I suppose. And, yeah, it was, cool to see that. And the reason why I chose to watch it was because I know that my sisters are there, and I wanted to see if I could see them. The video, though, is like 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and I'm like 44 minutes into it is when I decided to stop watching it because I was getting a bit of fatigue from watching it. So I don't know. I'll probably continue watching it and hope that you know, I see them eventually. Well, after going into that, I decided to do another Robert Monroe Gateway session, and I recorded my whole experience from beginning to end, up where I went through that, and you can watch that on the channel if you're interested. It's basically just another documentation. Anything truly interesting to report that would allow the video to provide a little more context? No, not really. Just felt more relaxed, and I was in the middle of getting into a deep state of relaxation when I needed to use the restroom. That kind of broke my focus and kind of slightly ruined the whole experience. So yeah, that was a bummer, but overall, pretty pretty interesting experience, all things considered. All right, well, after that, I decided to shave my face because my face was getting hairy and I wanted to look clean cut for when I arrived at work today. So I shaved my face, and then after I was done shaving, um, I remember asking Gemini, "Hey, what are the benefits of doing the whole Robert Monroe tape series?" And basically, Gemini stated that apparently, like people who've done it reported having deeper sense of creativity, of intuition, of being able to have um, like clear thinking. So I was like, oh, those sound like pretty good benefits. I think I'll continue trying it out, see what happens. And then for some reason, Google stated, oh, you also have um, an easier time having out of body experiences. I'm like, what? That's weird. So I decided to do a little research on YouTube, and I found this lady who said she had an out of body experience and was describing it word for word about like how she felt like she was in a lucid dream, but not a lucid dream, and how she was like flying across like the sky and the universe and stuff. It was really interesting. Um, as I was listening to that, I was making 2 hot dogs on 2 buns with mustard, ketchup, and mayonnaise. Hot dogs were put in water with a plate over it in the microwave, and then they were put into the buns that had mayonnaise put into them, and then I just put mustard and ketchup on top. And then I had a squirt soda to go along with that with some kettle chips. And yeah, that was pretty good. And then after that, I remember I ultimately got up, got dressed, said goodbye to our family friends, or I love them, and then I went into my car with my notebook, A&W Zero Sugar, and I drove off to work. When I arrived at work, as I was driving to work, I decided to list even more OBE experiences. Well, very similar things. I really want to get into that, so I'm just gonna cut straight to the job. When I arrived, I punched in, I greeted my coworkers. I continued sweeping the floors, produce break room, store floor. Continued punching in on time. Checked the restrooms, made sure they had everything they needed. Would bag customers groceries, and then I was put through a little like crash course with one of the CSRs about proper like bagging etiquette, and apparently I was notified that our job's going to be changing uniforms, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So neat to know that kind of thing. Moving along from that, I asked for my first break from the CSR. They said, sure, but make sure that you go before one of the GMs arrives back. And I'm like, all right. So I left with my water canteen. I got that refilled at a nearby location. And then I returned to the store, sat on a bench, did some breathwork meditation, following a Breath with Sandy 5-minute breathwork session, and felt really good about that afterwards. And then finally got up, returned to work on time, and continued bagging while chatting with a coworker cashier, the one who's been working at the store for over 30 years. And yeah, I remember we were like asking different customers about like if they have put sour cream in their coffee. They said no, all of them. So yeah, we're still doing that bit from like a few days ago. So that's pretty funny. And then it was time to take out the trash. So I took out each trash as all of them. I including the manager office trash, the front end trashes, the outdoor trashes, the bathroom trashes, the break room trashes, the janitor trashes, all of them. Threw them all out. There was this funny thing where like we have this like rubber chicken in the receiving area that's like put into like what we call like the cage location, and someone grabbed another like rubber chicken, you know, the one that if you squeeze it goes, and I grabbed and I saw it was like laying down next to the chicken that was like standing up because it was like squeezed into the cage. So I decided to grab the chicken that was laying down, put him next to the one, so they were like in the same kind of position, but they were like next to each other. And so now you've got two chickens. So, and I went to both of them. That was pretty funny. All right, and then after that, I took out the trashes. I went up, brought up the bags, refilled the check stands, and then it was time for lunch. So I punched out for lunch, grabbed some mustard and mayonnaise from the deli area, went upstairs. I was given a coworker's remaining avocado spread, so guacamole. They said they didn't want it, so they said I could have. So I was like, sure. So I took that and I put it on the turkey sandwich, sub sandwich, with mustard, mayonnaise, and yeah, it was really good. Probably really fattening too. And I had some chips, the Lay's garlic cream and Cuban steak chips that I actually put into the sandwich too. So yeah, I had that with A&W Zero Sugar. Very delicious meal. And I was watching the Jesse Michaels video where he was talking with a physicist about anomalies, like strange looking objects on the moon and Mars surface. So yeah, very fun break time. Then when I was done with that, I went downstairs, punched back in, put on my vest, bagged for a lot of different customers, finished filling up bags on each of the check stands. I was told by the co-closer manager that they wanted me to do the check stands as quickly as possible, so I did it at breakneck speed. I think I did a pretty good job. And then one of our other co-managers said it was their last day, and they left. I said goodbye, and then I said, I'm going to miss your catchphrase. And then they were like, huh? And it was like, yeah. They were like, yeah, you can continue it. Yeah, keep the spirit alive. So it was like, yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, so that was the co-manager's catchphrase. Yeah. Over and over again. It was pretty funny. Yeah. And the remaining part of the day, one of my co-closers brought in, who's a GM, brought in the carts and the signs. I decided to help clear a lot. I was taking out the trash. My co-manager, co-closer was very kind. He did most of the go-backs, or all of the go-backs actually. So I was very grateful for that. Thank you very much to both my co-closer GM and my co-closer manager. You guys rock. And then I was asked by the co-closer manager to bring the cardboard into the back to be thrown into the baler. So I did that, and when I was returning, there was like this like lady who needed help with finding a product. I'm forgetting exactly what product it was. Um, I think it was. Oh yeah, they wanted those uncooked tortillas that you heat on top of a pan. So I showed them where they were at, and they were like, "Cool." And then when like we got into this conversation about like cancer and how like if like Japanese scientists found a way to take like certain bacteria from a frog and inject it in mice with tumor growths, and the frog bacteria was able to eradicate the cancer with 100% accuracy every single time. So yeah, and then the lady just was talking about all like how I don't like how the world's going. It's crazy, man, and very long, long chat with that lady. And then afterwards, I went to the produce. I did one more sweep. I remember I was throughout the remaining material, closed the produce blinds, um, went up and I was like helping bag with my co-cashier, and then the co-manager, the GM, and the cashier were like all in the middle of this conversation that I kind of stepped into, just observing, and they were like talking about like their like what's going on and things, and I just thought it was really interesting. Um, yeah, like it was cool finding out one of the coworkers' dad was a chef that worked at a football stadium, but was really tipped off when things were going awry. I was like, "Oh, sounds interesting." And yeah, very, very cool. Then I was asked to do a store walkthrough to make sure there were no more customers. I ran through the store to make sure there was no one left. There was not. I finished the day by wiping down the last check stand. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I had an interesting little, you know, small talk with my co-closer manager. It's pretty funny. I think we were talking about like Pokemon cards and how the co-manager wished they like, you know, held on to them because they sold them at like a cheap price, and then later on, like the cards they had exploded in value. And they said, "Oh, kind of like Bitcoin," and they were like, "Yeah, if I had invested in Bitcoin, I definitely wouldn't be here right now." So like, yeah, it's pretty funny. Um, and then I went to punch out. I said goodnight to my co-closer manager, and I grabbed my notebook. Oh yeah, I took my notebook with me. I didn't use it at all today though, which is kind of a bummer. So I took my notebook. I took my finished can of A&W Zero Sugar Soda. I went to my car. I drove off home. When I arrived home, I used the restroom. When I was done with that, I had half a what do you call that? A lemon pie and half a chocolate pie. Not a huge fan of the chocolate pie. Lemon pie was okay, but meh. I'm starting to not really dig those fruit pies, if I'm being honest with you. And not too crazy about them. Maybe it's because I've had too many in such a short space of time. You're not supposed to have many in that short space of time, but no, what can I say? Um, or maybe it's because I know there's a much better pie that's waiting that would trample over all the current pies that I'm currently eating. Anyways, I also had some kettle chips, and I was watching this funny video where this British guy was making a video about this movie called Zoom, and it was like a movie about like I think Tim Allen was his name, the guy who did the voice of Buzz Lightyear. Um, and yeah, basically the whole thing was uh, a, a long, overdrawn out superhero like family film that really didn't go anywhere, didn't have like that many stakes, just felt like the characters were just messing around until like the very end. Like their powers were introduced at the start of the movie. They just did a bunch of random junk throughout the middle of the movie. And at the end, they finally just haphazardly throw in a final boss fight with a character they introduced at the beginning that say it's going to take them 10 days to get to our base. So, yeah. Kind of a lame film, not gonna lie, but hey, I mean, apparently it was a childhood favorite of the creator of the video, so because it was cool they were able to relive their childhood. Then after that, um, I remember I was watching like a video talking about like it was like the new DLSS 5 technology and a more in-depth look at it. It was pretty interesting. And yeah, I was getting pretty tired. I decided to turn off the TV. I took my vitamins. Oh yeah, I opened a can of pineapple juice and I poured it in a plastic, you know, container that you can pour out. And I had some of that. I had that with the chips while watching the video review of that movie Zoom, by the way. So I kind of blanked out on that. And yeah, I took my vitamins, I brushed my teeth, and now I'm recording this video. So yeah, it's pretty much the day. I'm gonna quickly edit this. I'm just gonna put two big chunks together and export it. Nothing crazy. And then I'm gonna upload it. So probably gonna put them together right now and then upload in the morning because it's probably gonna take at least 30 minutes to an hour to export. So yeah, I'm gonna go to bed then. So see you in the next video and take care. Bye.